Before we talk about how the iPhone SE4 might not be an SE4 at all, I just want to apologize for the lower than usual quality and frame rate. It's because I'm in the mountains right now, staying at a family member's house, and the internet is slow here, like kilobits per second slow. So if you're seeing this, it's a miracle that the video got up at all, but it's satellite internet and it's not Starlink, so there's a data cap that I have to be very careful not to exceed, and inside there's very low lighting, and out here the audio is not great, but I'm not letting that stop me about what I think could be the best iPhone of the year. No, not the 17 Slim, 17 Pro Max, or any of that crap. No, I'm here to talk about the iPhone that I think most people will probably need. In the long term, they might not go out and buy it on day one. They should just buy it once their current iPhone needs to be replaced. And the latest reports are mostly coming from Asian social media accounts, which is a little interesting, but now Majin Buu as well over on Twitter is agreeing with them, saying that Apple is actually not going to call this new iPhone the SE. Both accounts, which is kind of interesting, they could be wrong, but as the video goes on, you may understand why Apple wants to do this. They're claiming Apple will not call it the SE and instead call it the 16E, which I have to admit is a little confusing. I mean, it does kind of align with what Samsung has done with cheaper models in the past. You had like the S10 and then the S10E. I think more recently they've started calling it the FE, which stood for Fan Edition, which is a little weird. Why would the fans be buying the cheaper models? I don't know, but maybe Apple wants E to stand for economy or something like that because it's just meant to be the cheaper version of an iPhone 16. It would kind of make sense to stop calling it SE if S from the beginning was supposed to stand for small edition, but in my experience, SE usually stood for special edition, and maybe Apple just feels like the term SE has been around for so long that maybe it has somewhat of a cheaper or negative connotation to it, and they would rather have the naming be a little bit more consistent with the rest of the iPhone lineup. So you've got your 16 Pros and Maxes and then your 16 Pluses. Now you'll have 16E on the lower end. And the next part of this report, which of course a lot of you are not going to like, is that once again it's rumored to go up in price. So more expensive than the SE3, which already got a price bump of $30, which means unfortunately the 16E might end up costing around $450 or perhaps up to $500. This would definitely make more sense if its goal is to kill off the iPhone 14 in the lineup, because that's already pretty pricey for what it is, still a Lightning port in 2025 now. But this new cheaper iPhone is supposedly going to be quite a bit different from the SE3, to be fair. So we're talking no more home button, much bigger 6.1-inch OLED display, making the switch to Face ID for the first time as well, and an A18 chip on the inside with 8 gigs of RAM, which is for Apple Intelligence, of course. But still, that's definitely for an iPhone quite a bit of RAM on their lowest end, like more affordable model, right? So I guess I can kind of understand why the price is going to go up a bit. There's also been a lot of inflation in the past few years anyway, so no matter what I say, people are going to be ticked off, but I still think the iPhone sounds like an incredible deal considering it's rumored to have one 48 megapixel sensor on the back, so sadly no ultra-wide capabilities, which means no spatial photos or videos or funny 0.5x photos and that kind of thing, but the 48 megapixels should mean some pretty impressive zoom performance, and 8 gigs of RAM means that this will be a pretty great multitasking iPhone with, of course, USB-C, and this will also be Apple's first iPhone with an in-house designed modem, so it won't be rocking ultra-wideband connectivity, but it should have pretty decent battery life considering how efficient Apple is known to be with their silicon, and now apparently applying a lot of that same efficiency logic to their modems. So Qualcomm modems are on their way out, and we're really only looking at about 2 months before we know all of these things for sure, because it's rumored to launch in the month of March, and that's right around the corner, so expect more leaks and rumors to start picking up traction, and we'll find out if the iPhone 16E is really all that it's cracked up to be. But like I said, I don't think it's the kind of iPhone everybody needs to go out and buy on day one, but for a lot of average everyday consumers out there who are sick and annoyed with all of the expensive iPhone options out there, and you just want something cheap and reliable that works, this upcoming rumored iPhone I think is just going to be perfect for the masses. It's not going to be anything fancy, but but good battery life with the latest connectivity, USB-C, and of course Apple's in-house design modem with still an amazing camera on the back that doesn't do anything fancy like ultra-wide, but should still have some very decent zooming capabilities and a lot of rich, vibrant detail thanks to that 48 megapixel rear camera. That's the camera I use the most often on my iPhone anyway, so if you're gonna have one, that's definitely the one to have. Plus, of course, future-proofing it with the A18 chip and 8 gigs of memory means that this iPhone, I think, could easily last many consumers out there 7-8 years, maybe more. What do you guys think? Are you confused at all by Apple changing the letter for the cheaper iPhone all this time? First, we had the iPhone 5C for colorful. Then we had the 10R, which they literally straight up and told us that the R doesn't stand for anything. It's literally just a letter that they pulled out of their hats. And now moving on to 16E for economy, maybe? Or efficiency? I don't know. What do you think the E should stand for? How will it be spelled? Will the E be in a little box? Will it be a capital E or a lowercase e? All of these tiny insignificant details we have to figure out before the March event, of course. So drop all your predictions down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.